All right, let's talk about something I think a lot of us can relate to, even if we don't have a name for it: hyper-independence. We're taught to see it as this badge of honor, this sign of incredible strength. But what if it's actually a story about survival? Let's get into it.
So, to start, you've got to look at how we, as a culture, view independence. It's pretty much held up as the ultimate goal, right?
So let me just ask you this, point blank. Do you absolutely hate asking for help? I mean, really think about it. That feeling deep in your gut that just recoils from the idea of relying on someone else, even for something small. That voice that says, you know what, it's just easier and probably safer if I just do it myself.
And hey, if that sounds like you, it's no wonder. Our world is built on celebrating the self-made person. We praise the one who can juggle everything, the person who does it all without breaking a sweat. The message we get loud and clear is that needing other people is a weakness.
Okay, but what if we flip this whole idea on its head? What if this intense, powerful drive to be self-reliant isn't just a personality trait? What if it's actually a tactic?
Yeah, we call it strength, we call it being resilient, and look, those things are absolutely part of the picture. But what if there's more to the story? What if it's a highly sophisticated defense mechanism that we built for ourselves a long, long time ago?
And this is the big idea right here. This is the shift. It's the difference between saying, it's just who I am, and really understanding, whoa, this is what I learned to do to stay safe. The key thing here is realizing that hyperindependence isn't necessarily something you're born with. It might be something you built piece by piece.
So to really get where this strategy comes from, we gotta rewind, like way back. We have to look at these powerful lessons we pick up in childhood, often without even knowing it's happening. And this brings up this really interesting concept of the easy child. You probably know this kid. It's the child who figures out super early on that having needs, or, making a fuss, or asking for things, stresses out the grown-ups. So, to keep the peace and avoid being a burden, they just learn to be quiet, to not need anything, to handle it themselves.
And right alongside that, you have the idea of the unchosen child. This is the kid who learns a really tough lesson over and over again. When they count on someone, that person just doesn't show up. Promises get broken, needs get ignored. They learn that relying on others is just a setup for being let down.
And wow, this quote just hits hard, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that core belief that gets baked in from those experiences. I learned early on that relying on others leads to disappointment. Once a belief like that takes root, well, your whole way of moving through the world is going to change to protect you from that pain.
So you might be wondering, how exactly does that childhood stuff turn into an adult with life? The thing is, those early experiences, they don't just vanish, they transform.
And you can say the path so clearly here. Step 1, you learn what disappointment feels like again and again. Step 2, that feeling solidifies into a belief, a rule for life. Relying on other people? Nope, not safe. And what's the logical conclusion? Step 3, you build this adult strategy of hyper-independence. It's like a fortress built to make sure you never have to feel that original hurt ever again.
And let's be real, as a protective shield, it is amazing at its job. It totally works. It keeps you from getting that sting of being let down. It gives you this powerful sense of control and safety in a world that once felt really unreliable. And maybe most importantly, it walls you off from that scary, raw feeling of being vulnerable.
All right, so we've unpacked all this. What now? What does seeing it this way actually do for us? How does it change the story we tell ourselves? Okay, if you take away only one thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this. Hyper-independence is not a character flaw. It is not something wrong with you. It was a brilliant, incredible strategy that a younger version of you came up with to protect yourself. It worked. It got you here.
And so that leaves us here with one last thing to think about. That strategy was all about survival. It was vital. But what if today, right now, the goal isn't just to survive anymore? What if the goal now is to connect?